welcome back to Actually You Know What, where we turn my wine nights and your tea nights into content now. I'm excited to have you on, Chris. I'm super stoked about this episode because one, I know we're both yappers, and two, we each have a lot of experience on the dating scene, and talking to another person of the opposite sex I think is going to be really cool so that we can kind of see where we are on on certain subjects and everything. Kind of the main themes that we're going to be going through on this episode, and it might be multiple episodes depending on how much we each yap, which I'm super excited about. We're going to be talking about dating across the decades, the different eras, the modern romance versus the old school romances, the pre-social media, post-social media, dating apps, everything and anything in between, and all of that fun stuff. So, Chris, we have you on today. You are the co-founder of the Cat Arcade, which is how we met, and we'll get into that a little bit later. And then I also found out, which you told me, that you are the author of 1,000 First Dates, 101 stories on dating, relationships, and breakups, which I'm super excited to talk about. So, Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you
Well,
do? How's life? Of
well, thank you for having me, first of all.
course.
I appreciate your trust.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny, as you're doing this wonderful introduction, you're like dating through the eras. I'm like, Jesus, it makes me sound so old. And that's okay, because I am. That's okay.
But to be
It's a
fair,
privilege to get here. It's a privilege to be this old and to have this much experience. But yes, we did meet through the Catcade.
mhm.
I am one of the co-founders and the co-executive director of the Catcade, which is a nonprofit cat rescue here located in Chicago. We opened in 2017. And yeah, so before this, I was a writer professionally for 11 years. I would write a book, and I thought okay, so just quick backstory. Before all that, I was a hairstylist, right? I was a colorist, and I was working at a salon. And at the time, I had gotten a little bit of notoriety back in the day on LiveJournal. All right,
Oh, yes.
so I
Yes.
had a decent amount of people reading my ramblings. Okay, and it got to the point where I was like, "Hey, you've got like 40,000 people reading every single day. What are you going to say? What are you going to say to all of these people, like, that are strangers? Because at first it was just my friends, and so I was like, well, you got a microphone and you've got a small spotlight on you for a brief period in your life. What are you going to say? How are you going to use that? And so what I decided to do was post a story that I had written for a fanzine. So fanzines, I don't mean to over explain things, but for some of your
So
listeners, they might
please do.
not know what a
Yeah.
fanzine is. Fanzines are essentially blogs pre-internet, right? You'd write your musings down, whatever it was poetry, whether it was stories, I don't know, about everything and anything that you could think of. And then you'd type it up, cut and paste it, and fold little pieces of paper, and you'd sell it. And generally, for me, I grew up in the punk rock and the hardcore scene, and we would sell it at these shows, right? And so there was a story that I had written, and it was about my Auntie Larry. And he was gay in the 70s and the 80s in Chicago. And it was basically about his funeral. He died, and he was absolutely wonderful, and he was an amazing man. And I wanted to go to his funeral. It was all about me confronting my father. End of story, right? And but I thought it would be an interesting story to kind of put out there for people to read, and it did. The feedback was amazing. So I said, "Hey, let me try this again." So I did it again, and then eventually somebody said, "Hey, why don't you put all these stories into a book?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Like, what do I know? I don't know how to do that." And long story short, I put it together. I self-published a book in 2005, and I only printed 1,063 copies of it because that was the smallest batch that you could print self-published at that time.
Okay.
And it sold out in a month.
Oh
And
my
I was
God,
like,
that's incredible.
oh my God, I'm rich, because I was broke at the time.
Right, right.
And so I was like, wait a minute, let's try this again. So I wrote another book, very similar. It was a bunch of nonfiction, memoir short stories, right?
Okay.
And I did it again, and it sold just as fast. And I was like, oh my God. So I went up to my boss and I said, hey, I'm gonna quit, and I'm gonna try this writing thing full time, because if I don't, I'm gonna regret it for the rest of my life. And she said, okay, you'll be back. I'll keep you in the system.
Well, damn.
I
Okay.
mean, understandably so, right?
Shit.
But I needed to live this artistic experience.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And from there, that started 11 years of me living off of my writing. And I would write a book. And then eventually, somewhere along the line, I got a manager and who convinced, at first it was like schools. Schools have an entertainment budget and they would fly me out, or I would drive there and I would do a little talkie show and I would talk about my books. At first, it was like, let me read from my book. And then I was like, I can tell this story better than I can read it.
Hmm.
And so then it turned into kind of like the spoken word, but kind of somewhat comedy, but also like a weird, shitty TED talk. And it was all, and hanging out with your friends at Denny's at 2 in the morning. Like that's what the vibe was of
Okay.
this. And then so then what I did was I got a touring manager and I started touring. And then I started going to coffee shops and doing this in the back of I spoke everywhere from let me put this in perspective for you. I would speak anywhere that would have me, anywhere I could sell my wares, my books, and someone would throw a little money at me, and because this is what I did for a living,
Hmm.
and so I spoke everywhere from, I spoke on a pallet on the beach in Miami. I spoke
Okay.
under a tree in a park in Buffalo, New York, but I also spoke at the University of East Anglia in Norwich, England, and was on their local news. um,
Whoa.
Rutgers University. I've spoken at dozens of universities, and but everything in between. Like I spoke in the back of a Panera
In the
one
back of a Panera.
in the back of a Panera.
Okay.
So I've spoken in people's living rooms and had a whole bunch of strangers show up. And so, long story short, that's what I did. And so one of my last books that I wrote was A Thousand First Dates.
Hmm.
After I had gone through all of my memories and all of the interesting stories I feel like I had exhausted,
Yeah.
I decided I found myself single. And I said I was going to go out with every single person who asked. And at the time, this was the OK Cupid Plenty of Fish days, a little bit drastically different. I'm sure we will get to that in a minute, of how online dating is now. And I was going on 2, 3, and sometimes 4 dates a day. And I did that for a solid, I want to say like 5 to 6 months,
Wow.
just at that intensity. But ramping up to it, I was doing one a day,
Sure.
maybe like 10 a week.
What
And
age
then
were
it
you
kind of
at this point?
was in my late 30s, my
Wow.
mid
Okay.
30s.
That sounds exhausting.
Listen
Sounds
to
so
me, it
exhausting.
was exhausting. It was like working two full-time jobs.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm 37 right now, and that sounds like a lot. I feel like if I went on one date a week, I'm like, huh, I'm tired. Time to hang it
and
up.
and so when people say, well, who the hell are you, Chris,
Hmm.
to talk to have to talk about any of this stuff, um I don't want to step on any of the questions that you might potentially have, but I started dating when there was AOL personals. It was AOL 2.0 came out with personals. I mean, it was either 2.0 or 3.0, but either way, for those of you old enough to remember the discs that you would get, and you'd have to put them in your computer to load AOL, and and so it was basically for chat rooms for the most part, and you kind of like surf the web if you knew like the exact URL to whatever. There wasn't like a Google, and so or maybe if there was, it was the very beginning stages. But either way, uh, I was on AOL Personals, and it was essentially like the old school personals that you would put in a paper, but you would put it on AOL, and you couldn't upload a picture. Like
Right.
the option to upload a picture was not there. And I ended up going on my first date. I want to say, I can't remember when it was. It was the late 90s. Maybe
Hmm.
it was the late 90s. And I still remember where we went. We went to Uncommon Ground. We met there on Clark, just north of the metro in Chicago. And I don't know. It went well until it didn't. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like
Right.
everything, every
As
date.
which is, I think, a lot more than I would expect from a essentially a blind date. I think a date from somebody that is you don't know them, you've never seen them. This is a very unexplored, uncharted territory, the whole AOL person.
Right,
So I
exactly.
think you showing up and them showing up and it not being just chaos from, right from the beginning is that's actually better than I would expect. So
Yeah. Between there, like obviously I've had a lot of long-term relationships and whatnot. I haven't been dating solid since the mid 90s, but like I have, then I would go through these long relationships and I'd come out and then I would start and I'd be like, "Oh, well, let's see how this online dating stuff has progressed."
mhm.
And so when we talk about, seeing like all the different iterations of dating and the way that people treat it, I have uh, unfortunately, a front row seat to all of that to
Yeah.
see how it started in the beginning. To put this in perspective, on these AOL personals, I had not seen her because I sent her a picture. I had
Mhm.
one picture. And the way that I got it was I took one of those old like point zip cameras, like the disposable cameras that
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
get like
yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah.
And I took a picture of myself, went to Jewel to have it developed, had to wait 2 weeks to get it developed, got it back. My friend had a flatbed scanner. We had to put it on the flatbed scanner, upload it, hold on, and then put it onto a floppy disk, and then put that into the computer, upload it to the computer, and then I could email it to her. So
That is so much work.
well, this is what I'm trying to say, how far we've come.
That
And
right.
so like that compared to being on Hinge, Tinder, Bumble now is, I mean, light years apart.
Right. And this is, a part of why I wanted to have you on here is I know when I was creating the outline, I came across the term dating historian. And to kind of go back to that, where you said dating through the eras makes you sound old or whatever. It's
Okay,
interesting because it's interesting because it wasn't social media and technology and everything just grew so rapidly during our lifetime that I
yeah,
mean we went through so many different platforms and outlets and ways to connect with each other that you know I think other generations, they always say like the older generation, they didn't have technology, advance as fast as we did, and then the younger generation, all they know is fast technology.
yeah,
We're kind of the ones that we had to know everything. So for us, it's such a big change because we go from that, the AOLs and the just meeting people in person and getting somebody's number at the mall or something, and then now, and it's funny because you're talking about this is what you had to do just to upload a photo to to send to this girl. You had to
yeah.
go through weeks of effort to do it. And nowadays, guys won't even send you a text message because it's too much effort. And it's so funny to see that you went through all that trouble just to send what was probably a blurry photo of yourself.
I still
And
have it.
do you
I still have
really?
it. Oh
Oh
yeah, I
my
still have it.
God.
I still have it. It's in a scrapbook of mine.
Oh
Like I
my
saw
God,
it the
that's
other day. Like I
incredible.
pulled it out. I was like, that was my first picture that I ever used.
Oh my God,
I'll take a picture of it and send it to you.
your first dating profile photo. That's incredible. Put
Mhm.
that in like the in a museum somewhere. But again, all that work just to upload a photo. And now it's like, ugh, I gotta plan a date. It's like
Yeah.
it's just it's crazy the contrast there. So before we kind of jump into the dating then versus now and that whole topic and all of those questions that I had, for the book, your 101 stories, was there in the book, is there something, or can you think of the best of, the worst of? Was there like the best date that you went on during that time, or the worst date, or what was the most memorable one that you went on?
It's really tough. Because I haven't read it in forever. I'm not gonna lie to you. Um, that's the way that I've always kind of treated like my writing is this might help put it in perspective. I will write something and then I will put it out into the world and it'll be received however it's received.
Hmm.
All right. Um, of course, we want to hear positive things, but I've learned early on, especially since having like a bit of a presence on the internet for decades, that don't put too much weight into that. All right, good or bad,
Hmm.
it's just about what you care about and if
Right.
you're proud of the content you're putting out there.
Sure.
So I would write these books and I would put them out into the world. And then if I was to go back and revisit them, starting from the beginning, I was like the first book I wrote, I was like, this is 90% terrible. Only 10% of it is, I believe, salvageable. I don't want anyone to read it. It's like a demo tape, right?
Okay.
And then the more that I wrote, it would be like 80% is terrible,
Okay.
60%, 50. And so like, but then it got to the point towards the end where I was like, holy shit, I wrote that? Wow.
That was
I
me.
I'm and then I was like, I'm not that good anymore. I couldn't write that now.
Oh
And
no.
so so I tend to not go back because then I kind of want to remember it the way that it was. But so I can't necessarily single out one specific thing. And I think that it's important to kind of give you a little bit of a quick overview. Basically, what I did was I wrote about the experiences of how those experiences affected me, not how I projected things or my insecurities upon people, but more like how what changed in me
Okay.
by having this interaction conversation, and 90% of it was about me just having a conversation with people, even if that date progressed to do something to more, whether it was dinner, whether it was sex, whether I
Hmm.
ended up dating them for a few weeks or months or what have you. That wasn't the thing that I tried to focus on. I tried to focus on what changed in me.
Okay.
And so it's not a very specific thing about like, oh, that person was horrible. Trust me, I have tons of horrible dating stories.
Yeah.
One that I can remember from that is I met someone who, and I think, and I know that the way this is going to sound, but um, bear with me. I met somebody online and I was like, this woman is clearly out of my league. And you're gonna say, "Oh, don't say that," because blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, no, no. You know, when you look at somebody and you're like, "Holy
Yeah. Oh
shit,
shit.
I'm dating outside of my weight class here, right?" And she was gorgeous, like beyond gorgeous, and I couldn't believe that this woman was agreeing to meet me for coffee. And so I met her at Starbucks, and we go in, and she's already sitting at the counter in the window. And I walk in. I was like, "Oh, hey, how you doing? It's nice to meet you." Blah blah blah. And we just kind of like getting our bearings, right? I don't even think I had gone to get my coffee yet, right? A
Okay.
coffee for whatever. But the school, there was a local elementary school, and it had just gotten out, and the kids were walking down the street, and I don't know, they're like probably like third, fourth grade, and as a former annoying third, fourth grader boy, you know, um, I know that kind of energy, and so the Starbucks had outdoor plants hanging down from the awnings, right? And these kids were jumping up and slapping them. They're just some of them as they walked past, right? As dumb young boys would do,
Hmm.
or dumb men would do. And so they were doing that, and she basically called them. I don't want to go too much into it, but basically was like, "Ugh," and drops some hard R's, right? And I remember looking at her, and I was just so taken aback. There's a phrase that my friends and I all say, and we go, and it's called going from apples to Hitler, right? We're like,
That's
we're like
funny.
that it doesn't make sense. The trajectory of
Like, where did
that
that come
like
from?
how do you go from this to this? It doesn't make sense in my brain. I surround myself with like generally forward thinking progressive people.
Hmm.
That's who I'm around. And so for someone to hear somebody that, it's so shocking and so jarring. It's like getting into an argument with somebody and then replaying it at night and being like, why didn't I say this?
Right.
Because you were so shocked. It didn't make sense. It went from
Right.
one to the other. And I was like, whoa, why the fuck would you be so aggressive? And like I'm like sitting
Kids.
here, I'm like, what is and then I just like looked at her and I took a beat and I was like, okay, and I'm gonna paraphrase this, but essentially I said, like, so I'm that was kind of shitty. I'm not really into your racism. And she goes, well, that's not what I meant. I'm like, no, 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 no. It is what you meant. It's what you said. And I'm like, so I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.
And I said, have a good day. And I like walked out. Now, replaying it back in my mind, I should have said this, I should have said this, I should have responded like this, what have you. But in my mind, I was like, that came in, the information came too fast and too quick and too harsh for me to
Right.
kind of like be able to formulate like an appropriate response.
Right.
But all I knew was that I wanted to get away from
I
this
get the
person
hell out of
because
here.
I am so not compatible with you.
That's crazy.
And but what's great about that is that I am talking about this 20 years later.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like, and the way that it affected me kind of like prepared me for situations like that, like
Right.
how I would respond. Like, do I use this as a teaching moment? Do I use this as a, hey, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do I handle myself in these situations? And basically that's what the book was
Okay.
um bite-sized moments of interacting with people. Now, the foundation of it was the intent of we are here to pursue something potentially romantically, right?
Hmm.
You looked at me and you said, good enough. And I looked at you and said, intriguing enough. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
Right.
and so, but I don't think that there was necessarily one specific thing. The thing that I always come back to is the one thing that I learned from that book more than anything, and I know this sounds ironic since I'm running my mouth, but is to learn to shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Is to kind of I've been there on dates before where like you try to let the other person talk and you try to like because I know I'm a yapper and you're a yapper. We're both like that.
Mhm.
And it got to the point where I was like, am I having fun on dates or am I just the fun one? So then I started kind of just relaxing and letting the other people do the talking and I was like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
but then you fall under the trap because you hear both sides of this.
Right.
It's, oh my God, I went on this date with this guy and he wouldn't just shut up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hear the other one, which is, I just want someone who knows how to communicate. I want someone who knows how to express themselves. I
Mm-hmm.
want someone. And now, granted, there's obviously a balance to this.
Right.
I get it. But you got to understand that that balance looks drastically different to every single person.
Sure.
And I say this when I'm saying all of these things, like within the context of this, this talk today, I have literally sat down across from over 1,000 strangers with the romantic intent of let's see how this all plays out. Literally over 1,000. And not an exaggeration, not like, oh, it was like 300. No, it's
Mm-hmm.
literally. Um, I kept track. Do you know
That's
what I'm saying?
so
Like,
many people.
and so because of that, like I've learned a lot about communication.
Mm-hmm.
Again, for those of you that don't know, I am completely sober. I don't drink, smoke, do drugs, never have. Um, so I'm going into these things with a clear mind and a full, while old, mental capacity. Like I am here to be able to be a sponge still, to accept new information, to learn from this information, to hopefully make myself a better person. Do you know what I'm saying? So I can make myself a better person, and in turn, the after effects of that is to make myself a better person in a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
to share a life with someone, and to hopefully be a better communicator and a better partner.
Yeah. And I think that's a great lesson to learn from all of that too. And it sounds like that was a huge part of your life, even though you said it took place over what, 6 or 7 months or something you said?
That era of me
Yeah.
dating, like two, three, four people a day, like I learned early on
Mm-hmm.
that I cannot take everybody out to dinner because holy shit, I was broke back then. Here's the thing, I am not rich by anybody's means. I run a nonprofit, right? But back then I was broke. To put this in context, I have 6 women's names tattooed on my ass because each one of them paid me $150 so I could pay my rent.
Oh, buddy.
I I have smoked cat turds for $20 so I could eat food that night. I was like, I have stories for days.
Get
And
that
again,
bag, you know?
this is a long, long time
Yeah.
ago. This is
Right.
not like 5 years ago,
What's
right?
really in that cup?
Sleepy time
Like,
tea.
don't worry about
Um,
it.
I know, right? I am a a million light years away from who I once was and what I was putting out into the world.
Yeah.
My goal, not to sidetrack this whole thing, is to put more good out into the world. All right. I put a lot of shitty karma out into the world when I was younger. I was an angry, confused kid. and gravitated to punk rock because it was rooms full of angry, confused kids. I went through a lot of death. I survived a lot of abuse as a child, and as I slowly turned into a man, I didn't know how to process a lot of that.
Sure.
And so a lot of my uh, work that I did pre-therapy was writing. And it's kind of like when you go, my mom was a psych nurse. And so she would work on adolescent psych wards, and they would give you those black and white kind of like composition notebooks,
Mm-hmm.
and they'd be like, write down a letter to your dad, write down a letter to your mom or the guy who beat you up, or, and then when you're done, crinkle it up and throw it away.
Right.
And there's a therapeutic aspect to all of that, and so I got to do that professionally for
Right.
11 years. And so when you're in, talking about the abuse that you suffered, as a child, and you're saying this for the 12th day in a row to another crowd of people who are sitting there on the edge of their seats, and they're listening to you, like, it is unbelievably therapeutic. So when I actually started formal therapy, my therapist was like, you did a lot of the work for me. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but my whole goal now is to literally, I told myself after a recent breakup was that I want to leave people better for knowing me
Mm-hmm.
in whatever capacity that is, whether that's friends, whether that's my employees, whether that is somebody that I date. I want to, even if it doesn't work out, I want to try and leave things better than I found them,
Sure.
if that makes sense. And I know it sounds idealistic, and I'm sure I'm going to fuck up along the way, but
Yeah, but
I go into the day thinking that
right. And
now.
I think that's a way better mentality than most people have, which is, whatever their mentality is. But I think at least attempting to have that positive outlook of I want to make sure that, whenever this ends or if and when it does end, that this person's better. I think that's a great mentality to have versus, only caring about yourself and what you get out of it. So I think that's a great perspective to have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so let's shift into the first topic, which is going to be the big one, which is dating then versus now. This is going to be a fun one. This is going to be basically a lot of information because I know you have a lot of stories, and um so I basically want to get into the 90s versus the 90s and the early 2000s dating era, and just kind of focus on that era. I'm talking about like the AOL, the chat rooms, the pre-dating apps, the pre-social media, and how you were essentially forced to meet people in real life. This was meeting people at work, meeting people at, again, the mall, out and about, Friday nights when everybody was hanging out at coffee shops or parking lots, that kind of thing. And anywhere else. Or, you said that you got into punk and all that. Shows, I know, were a huge one. That's where I used to meet a lot of people, were at shows. And I guess my first question, and this is going to be a matter of opinion probably, but do you think that because there were essentially less options, I say that in quotation marks because, less options as far as, you don't have the doom scroll of 1,000 people at your fingertips, right? Do you think that the intention was more genuine back then?
I don't know if it was necessarily more genuine, but I feel like people 100% put more work into making a relationship work, because if you only have a handful of options as opposed to an infinite amount, you're going to work with what you got.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like the way that it was. And to what you said, like parking lots and coffee shops and the mall, that was
Mm-hmm.
literally where I met all of my earliest girlfriends.
Right.
My longest, one of my long-term relationship in high school, there was no internet, like it didn't exist. And so I met her at Fox Valley Mall, and we dated for 4.5 years, five and a
Yeah.
half years. And funny enough, still friends with her to this day.
Oh, that's so
Um,
nice.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But anyways, so that was what you did.
Right.
And you just kind of like looked around and you could see all of your options, right? You could see all of
Yes.
them. They're because they all had to be within like reaching distance, essentially. And
Right.
and
Yeah.
you
That's so
didn't
funny.
even know that there could be somebody that you are so unbelievably compatible with, and they lived 5 miles away. You'd
Right. They're in your
never
town.
know.
Yeah.
You would never ever know if that person existed or not, unless you happen to walk into the same bowling alley on the same night.
Right.
And so you kind of like were like, well, these are my options. I'm going to pick the one that I like the best, who maybe might actually like me.
Right.
And then and then whether it was politics or your ideas on children or your dietary restrictions or whatever things that people look at now and are instant red flags.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he hopped over a puddle, what an ick. Do you know what I'm
Right.
saying? like like
Yeah.
like you wouldn't even think of that back then
Right.
because you were like, no, because there's only three other people that I can see that are
There's
my
nobody else in
options
this
right
town.
now. So we're going to look past these things that are seemingly, I mean, benign. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like they don't
Yeah.
really matter. Let's be real. Let's be real. I know that that is a common like kind of stereotype. It's like, oh, I imagined him hopping over a puddle and it gave me the ick. Okay, cool. Like we know that that's a thing, right? There's memes about it and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
Fine. But we know that that's not it doesn't matter.
That's like
Like in
not
the
a thing.
grand scheme, like in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of like, do you want children? Do you smoke crack? Are you a Christian? Are you an atheist?
Right.
Where do you want to grow old together? Hey, how do you handle jealousy?
Right.
Are you an angry person? Do you know
Right.
how to apologize? Are you humble? Do you know
Right.
how to shut the fuck up when I'm explaining my emotions and vice versa?
Right. Right.
So when you look at this and you really take a step back and somebody's like, well, I saw that he had khakis on, and I would never in a million years date a guy who wore Crocs.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I am not promoting Crocs, by the way. But what I am saying is that at the end of the day, that shit doesn't make a difference at all.
It
And
really should
so
be about like whether or not he punches a hole in the wall. Like that should be an ick, not him like,
exactly.
oh, I
Now
saw
here's the
him
thing.
chase a quarter and now I can't ever look at him the same way. Like,
Exactly. And
really?
that but this is my thing. I am not immune to this
Hmm.
because in 2026, there's certain things that I'll see and I'll be like, no.
Yeah,
You
no,
know what I'm saying? Like,
we've all
but
fallen
because
guilty to that. Yeah.
because there's the thing, I evolved with this.
Right.
My evolution didn't stop dating in at AOL personals.
Hmm.
It evolved with this. So
Right.
to get back to your question, uh, do I think that it's more genuine? I don't think it's more genuine, but I think that people put significantly less effort into making a relationship work because nobody feels that they should have to compromise,
Right.
despite the fact that once you get into real relationships, you understand that it's all about compromise. There's
Hmm.
a difference between compromise and sacrifice, though. And you need to understand that there's a difference between those two.
Right.
Um, that nobody wants to compromise. Nobody wants to be faced with any uncomfortable feelings, whether somebody asks them questions that make them feel uncomfortable or they see things that they're projecting, like insecurities.
Right.
Um, and so, like, people, I feel like now that's the major difference between then and now, where before I would work with something,
Right. Yeah, you're like,
I will work with you, like I
right.
don't like the fact that you smoke, but like we can work with this. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you're nice to my mom. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
right.
Hey, you made me laugh.
Hmm.
Okay, cool. You're kind to me. You asked me about my day. I guess I can deal with the fact that you smoke.
Right.
That's how I felt in the 90s. And I'm actually referring to one of my girlfriends that I dated in the 90s.
Hmm.
I hated the fact that she smoked. Like it drove me nuts.
Yeah.
But she was all those wonderful and nice things.
Right.
And so I chose to like, hey, we'll work on this. And we dated for 4 years. So she's a wonderful woman. Now, funny enough, married to my best friend.
Oh, no way. That is so funny. What a
Yeah.
small world. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you brought an interesting point up where you were saying, like, you would go to the mall and you would just look up. And that's, you had to look around, right? Those were your choices. And
Mhm.
it's so interesting because in a world now where you go to the grocery store or you go to Walmart or you're going anywhere, everybody's in their phones. Nobody makes eye contact with each other. Like my mom would always tell me, she's like, if you're at a bar or whatever, like just say, make eye contact with them. I'm like, I think I would freak them out if I made eye contact with them. She's like, yeah, make eye contact and smile. I'm like, I think they would think I was a serial killer or something because nobody looks at you anymore. And
No,
like,
nobody does that.
if you make eye contact with somebody, they immediately look away. And I'm like, I'm sorry, my bad. I'm sorry I looked at you.
Hmm.
And I've noticed that a lot. Whereas back then, yeah, you would go. I vividly remember like, yeah, going to a mall and you would see a group of like cute boys or something, and you would look at them and you would make your comments and giggle, and then you would hope that somebody would make the move, one of your bold friends would walk over there or whatever. And it's really not like that anymore because it's kind of like you're okay, well maybe I'll come across her on the app, and then sure enough half the time it's weird because you would, or you come across people that in real life on these apps or whatever, or you see somebody cute on Facebook and that they friend request you on there, and hi kitty, look
No,
at
this is my Layla.
you. um so it's funny that you said that because yeah, it's so wildly different now. And you brought up another good point about people don't want to be uncomfortable anymore.
Mm-mm.
So the whole asking questions on dates and being uncomfortable, and people just don't like being in a position where they don't want to go out because it makes them uncomfortable or it's inconvenient for them. They don't want to be asked weird questions. And that's something that I've brought up to people before where I'm like, I'm 37 years old, and if I'm dating you, I'm dating with intent, and I'm going to get those questions out of the way. Do you want kids? Do you want to get married? What are your eyes? She's so cute. She made like direct eye contact. um,
Sitting on
like,
you.
but yeah, it's like I want all those. I'm gonna ask you all those questions. I'm not asking you, do you want to have children with me right now? I'm
Hmm.
asking you, do you want that in the future? Because if not, then you know what? We can go our separate ways now.
Hmm.
Because that's not something that you're going to like change your mind about. That's not something that
Right.
we're going to like, I don't. Well, I do. Okay, well, you still want to date? Probably not, actually. So,
Hmm.
it's a funny thing that you brought that up because yeah, nobody wants to be uncomfortable anymore. Um so with the whole, lack of social media back there, obviously there was no social media stalking. There was no looking at somebody and seeing who they know and who an ex was, or a photo from 2016 and what were they doing 5 years ago and whatever else. So, do
Hmm.
you think that there was something to the mystery? Do you think it was more fun to learn about somebody and get to ask them these questions versus, well, I already know everything about them. I know what job they have. I know what they do for a living. I know what school they went to. Like, do you think that there was something more to that? Do you think, was that a key ingredient in dating?
I don't know if it was a key ingredient, but I do know that it's not necessarily a good or a bad thing. And what I mean by that is that back then, back in the day, when you meet somebody, you got to learn the history of them from their perspective.
Right.
So you knew their stories from their perspective. You knew what they wanted you to know. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And if there was something they didn't want you to know, they just didn't tell you, and there was no way to find that out. And you didn't know if they had, I don't know, potentially abused somebody,
Mm-hmm.
because how would you know?
Right.
There was no paper trail on that kind of stuff. I mean, like, sure, you could go, I'm sure there was, like, you could go to the police station, but you know what I'm saying,
It's not like
like
now
there
where
was
you
a
can Google someone's name and it comes up they were in
that's
prison for
exactly
this.
what I was
Yeah,
getting at.
which
That's
that
exactly what
happened to me, by the way, like less than a year ago. Found out that this guy like punched some dude, almost killed him, and went to jail for it. And I was just like, I don't think we should talk anymore.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
But you got to learn the history that they wanted you to know.
right.
You got to hear their very, very edited versions of their life. Whereas now people can cross-check all of your shit and make sure you're on like the up and up.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? And so you're
Absolutely.
not,
Yeah.
so like if you start talking to somebody, you can be like, oh my God, this person's on like a sexual predator list, or you know what and
Mm-hmm.
then you can be like, you go back away slowly.
Right.
Um, and so I think it's a good and a bad thing, because you tend to get a more accurate version of this person, more accurate, not accurate, but more accurate than you would have pre-internet stalking. Um, so I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think you're right. I think it could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. I do think that um, it left room for getting to know one another. And there's actually an episode of How I Met Your Mother where they agree to not look up each other's information. This was like the height of Facebook, and like all of that made Ted, the main character, go crazy. He ends up looking her up, finds out that she's this incredible, like, well-rounded woman who's been on covers of magazines, and she's like a philanthropist, and she does charity, and she does all these amazing things. And then because he sees that, he's like now feeling the pressure on the date and just can't go through with the date because he feels like she's so much better than him and yada yada. So it kind of like that was the whole thing, was, the fact that he looked up all this information about her, then had nothing to talk about on the date because he knew everything already. Um,
No, I mean, that's a very good point. I never got into that show. Every time I saw it, I liked it. I just never sat down to try and watch it.
yeah,
Um, but no, I mean, that's a very good point because, like, yeah, man, people get excited about talking about themselves for the
yeah,
most part, and and at the same time, like, it does kind of spoil it because it does change the way that you view a person, good or bad,
right,
and it can totally affect the trajectory of your level of compatibility and how it would normally and naturally kind of like evolve,
mm-hmm,
as opposed to knowing, oh, this person's got a lot of money.
right,
Oh, this person comes from a lot of privilege.
right,
Oh, this person was, is broke.
right,
It'll change the way that you see somebody. Listen, I'm not saying I'm better than anybody, but what I am saying is that it does change your perception of someone when they've been in prison.
right,
Like, you can't help it. We're all part of the society and we're all affected by all the same shit.
right,
And so when you meet somebody and you find out, oh, they've got 2 million followers on Instagram, it
right.
shouldn't matter.
But
It's
it changes
dumb,
things. It
but
is,
it does
and it's gonna
slightly
change
change
you.
things.
I think it will change you too. Like, I know if I'm going on a date with somebody and I see that this guy is a big figure and has millions of followers on here and here and here, I'm suddenly going to act like, do I have to like dress a certain way? Do I have to act a certain way? Like,
Right. And
I'm
you
no
are a
longer
smart,
myself.
progressive, intelligent woman. Do you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
and that even affects you.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, if that can affect someone like you, it's going to affect everyone. And everybody
Right.
likes to pretend that they're not, like, affected by it. Like, they're, oh,
You can't not be.
that would never affect me. That would never change the way that I see things.
Right.
And but it will,
Yeah.
even to a small extent. It affects all of
It
us.
can't
And
not
so,
affect you. Like,
yeah,
it
so
just
I mean,
can't.
yeah, and so, like, again, there are benefits and there's drawbacks to both of it. But the thing is that regardless of whether or not we stomp our feet about it and get mad and shake our fists at the sky, it doesn't change anything. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
Evolution's going to keep moving, and the dating thing that we see now
Hmm.
is not going to look the same in 5 years.
It's
It's going to look
crazy.
drastically different in 10 years.
It's
I have
bonkers how
no
different it is.
idea
Yeah.
how that's going to progress, but it will. And I don't know
Right.
if it's for the better or for the worse.
Right.
To me, I think it's going to be for the worse,
Yeah.
but um, but we can get into that.
Yeah, and that's actually kind of what we are going to segue into, is the dating now and the dating apps, because I know we both have been on dating apps before. You had mentioned earlier
Yeah.
Plenty of Fish, and I know that I had done Plenty of Fish before. I've done Bumble, I've done Hinge, I've done Tinder. I've done actually my longest relationship, met him on Tinder, and I now have I had the apps as recently as last year, and I know you and I had talked about like the paywalls and just how everything
Mhm.
works with these dating apps now, where it's so you get on them, and this is just my experiences. I broke up with somebody last year and got back on the apps eventually, and at first it's kind of exciting because you're making your profile and they show you all the hot people on the app and everything, and you're like, oh, maybe the options have changed. And then after the first 20 hot dudes, that they're women or whoever that they show you, then they start showing you the real options that are out there. And oh, but you can't see this person's super hot, right? Oh, and they're like also a doctor. Oh, but you can't see them unless you subscribe or unless you pay for this or that. And it got to the point where it gets so it just gets so overwhelming and also underwhelming. Like, I don't
That's a good way to put it.
it's
It
like,
it it can both can exist.
yeah,
Yes.
it's like I'm overwhelmed by the amount of options, and I'm underwhelmed by the quality of options. And it's it's discouraging and it's exhausting, And kind of like how you were talking about going on all those dates, and it was kind of like having another job or having two jobs. It's
Mhm.
something that I would tell my parents because they would go, "Oh, have you gone on the app?" Because they're very much like they want me to find somebody, and I would tell them, I'm like, "Do you know how discouraging it is to work a full day of work, cook myself dinner, clean up, take care of my cats, do all the things that I got to do as an adult, and then sit on my couch to scroll through for an hour and find that everybody out there is not what I am looking for. And then when I finally do find somebody that they like, we talk for a couple messages and then the most bonkers shit will happen where it's like, well, I'm not comfortable giving you my phone number yet. We haven't met. Do you mind? And then you get yelled at for it. Or, it's just, it's so discouraging. And I mean, I that's how I feel about dating apps now. I feel like dating apps when I first started in like the 2000 teens, like 2015-ish, like I think it was like 2013 to 2018 probably. I would say were like the golden years where there weren't really a bunch of paywalls and everything. I think it was a lot more organic of swiping and matching and whatever. And I guess I would love to know your experiences like throughout the years of, the Plenty of Fish when that was first big. And I were you ever on Tinder when it first came out?
Not when it first came out, no.
Okay.
But but yes, to what you're saying, I really like what you said. Like you're overwhelmed with the amount of options, but underwhelmed with the quality. Like that is so accurate.
It's so
It's
bad.
so unbelievably accurate. So like I think the thing is that from what I understand, dating apps changed drastically when COVID hit. Because there was such an influx of people coming in, and they're like, "How do we monetize this?
Hmm.
How do we do this?" Whereas when you were on, let's say, OkCupid, which I loved, by the way.
I
All right,
forgot about
you know what?
OkCupid. Yeah.
You know what it's like. It's like, did you ever have a sidekick, like
No,
the
I don't think
T-Mobile
I
sidekick?
never had that
Oh
phone. No,
my
I
God,
wanted one, but I never had
talk to
one.
anybody from back in the day, and they'll tell you that's the greatest phone of all time. All
I
right,
know it
you
was.
could do
I
the
didn't.
flick, you could do the flick, and it had a good keyboard on it, and it's like it's archaic.
Mhm.
It was like a -5 megapixel like camera, and it couldn't
Right.
play videos. But I don't care if I could get that thing working, I would use it. All right, that's kind of how I feel about OkCupid. Like it is like the sidekick two of dating. It's oh my God, I miss like OkCupid was great for so many reasons. Number one, there was nothing you paid for.
Right.
You saw everybody who was like, like the top tier and the bottom tier. You saw
Hmm.
everything. Everything was an option, and you got to write so much about yourself. Like it
Right.
wasn't like, oh, you hit your character limit.
Yeah,
It's
you get
like,
150 characters to tell me your life story. What?
and here you can only answer these prompts.
And
Do
they're
you
all
think
terrible prompts, by
do
the
you
way.
think pineapple should go on pizza? And you're just like,
Oh my
oh my
god.
God,
Oh
like
my
what
god.
is happening right now? And they're like, oh, but you only get 140
Yeah.
characters. And I'm like, this is insane. And
Right.
when you put it on an app, all right, it is, I have like 2/3 of a second to determine whether or not your bone structure and your hair color
Yeah.
is appealing enough to me for me to want to swipe right.
Right.
And
Or to even read the rest of your profile.
God, no. And especially men are not going to be,
No.
because they're, more physical driven in the beginning. They're going to look at it and they're like, nope, nope, nope. And they're just hitting nope. And you get five nopes in 5 seconds. And
Mhm.
one of those people could have been the kindest, most compassionate, empathetic person who would have supported your dreams and, like asked you about your day and, you know, I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? They
A
could have been like
100%. Yeah.
a fulfilling partner
Yeah.
and a true partner in a relationship. Not just been a good girlfriend, but like a true partner where you feel like I feel good about sharing my life with this person.
Right.
But because they had a middle part and not a side part, they had
Yep.
curtain bangs, and you know what I'm saying?
Oh
Instead of like, oh,
yeah.
and you're just like, that is just so insane. And that's I think we're gonna get to this, which is like the negative drawbacks of, like dating in this culture now, that it's just so immediate. It's a double-edged sword.
Mhm.
It leveled the playing field for people who are introverts. All right.
Right.
And that's great. People who did not know how to go out, did not feel comfortable going out, can now, find their other person who doesn't like to go out, who likes sitting at home in sweatpants with their cat on their lap
Mm-hmm.
and, watching Emily in Paris. You know what I'm saying?
Great
They
show.
they
Great show.
eh, eh, listen, it is a objectively terrible show,
It
but I love it.
Oh, it's so
But I
bad, but
love
I can't
listen,
stop
I
watching it.
literally had to pause it to do this right now. I'm watching it and I will watch it. And after every episode, I'm like, this is
It's
terrible.
so
Like, did
bad.
anyone take an acting class here?
It's so bad.
And I'm like, also, do I even really like these characters? I'm like, are they
Everyone's
just
terrible in that
is
show.
everybody terrible in the
Everybody
show?
sucks, but the
But
fashion,
but why am I like loving it? Why am I just like, well, see, let's start season 2 right now. I literally watched all of season 1, and at the end, I was like, this is terrible. I gotta start season 2 now.
I gotta watch
And
season 2.
but anyways, what I'm getting at is that like now it levels the playing field for those
Mhm.
types of people who want that. Those people who seek adventure.
Yeah.
I love jumping out of airplanes and I want to go visit the pyramids. And it's like, hey, you could find that person. That's great. And I love that. I think that that is the benefit of online dating, especially now. The massive drawback makes it disposable.
Yeah.
Everyone is disposable. You, me, we're all disposable. Meaning, the minute somebody makes you feel uncomfortable, the minute somebody challenges you, the minute somebody does one half of an ick, people are like, well, why would I stay with this person who makes me slightly uncomfortable when I've got 500 other
Right.
options,
Or
attractive options
this person's a
that
little bit
are
more attractive than this person that I'm talking to. I'm going to entertain this and leave this person on red for a while.
look, they got better hair.
Yeah.
They've got stronger arms. They've got
Better job.
they got a better job.
Mhm.
Look at they got a cooler car. As if any of those things give a sense of fulfillment within a relationship.
It
As if
is,
any
yeah.
of those are any indicators on whether or not that person is going to prioritize your happiness. Do you
Right.
know what I'm saying? They are
Oh
not
yeah.
at all. And yet somehow our brains are now wired because of these apps, because of these algorithms, because there are literal scientists whose job it is to make sure you keep coming back
Mhm.
and spending more money. That's
Right.
literally their job. You can't fight that. I can't fight that. They have smart people, they have teams. They spend millions of dollars and teams of smart people to fool people like us into thinking this is a good idea
Yeah.
to do this cycle, the cyclical thing,
Right.
and so that's the major drawback is that now I have so many options I don't know what to do with. And here's the thing: maybe I'll stop on the 17th option. Who's to say the 18th or the 23rd or the 38th option isn't going to
Right.
be the most perfect one?
Right. Well,
You know what I'm
I'm gonna
saying?
scroll, and before we
Go
get
ahead,
into the doom scrolling part, because I have a lot to say about that too, and now I have a pen
please.
in my hand. So,
Extra important.
I did want to say when you were talking about the profile photos, and this person's bangs might be one way, or the color of their eyes, or whatever, and when I have met people organically, IRL or however, they've always been people that I would not have swiped right on apps. And it's so
Yep.
interesting to me because I'm like, if I had seen because I mean, I've dated people throughout, the last 2 decades. And yeah, a couple of them I was like, they're not my type. Because I do have a type. I like them when they look like Henry Cavill. Like,
Okay.
I like them when they're pretty. But the guys that I have dated, some guys that I have dated have not conventionally looked like they haven't looked like that, right? But
Yep.
I loved them so much. I cared for them so much because of who they were.
Yep.
And I knew them already. Some of the guys that I had dated, I was friends with already, and I knew that they were funny. They made me laugh the one time, or they did this, or they did that, or I mean, yeah, I do remember he was there. He was like, he was making everybody around him laugh. Like, those are the things that you remember, and then I would give that person a chance. And those are the things that you can't get from a dating app. You can't get that aura, right? Which is what they call it now. You can't, it's not like when you go to a bar and somebody starts talking to you and you go, he wasn't like the hottest guy ever, but like, he had confidence, he had this, he had that, he bought me a drink, he was a gentleman, he opened the door for me, etc. That being said, it's so interesting because and this is something I had grown up telling my parents, I wouldn't get hit on at bars. I wouldn't get hit on at places. It was very far and few in between when somebody would come up to me and say, "Hey, can I get your number? Hey, can I buy you a drink?" But on the apps, I mean, thousands of people, right? That are swiping right on you. So it was that was kind of the draw for me was people are willing to talk to me on here. But when I go out, nobody talks to me. So if when you were saying like introverts, it levels the playing field for introverts.
Mhm.
I'm very much an extrovert, but I can be shy. So for me, it was more like, well, finally they're talking to me. Like finally a guy is talking to me. So that is the draw for me for the dating apps. But again, you don't get that same, and especially when it comes to guys, because guys are not sitting there taking selfies all day and making sure that their hair looks nice and their makeup looks good and that they have the good angle, right? They're usually taking really terrible photos of themselves, and then you see them in person, and 9 times out of 10 in my experience, they look way better in person than they do in their photos. So
Interesting.
it's harder, I guess, in that aspect, because I'm just like, man, but so I thought that was interesting that you brought that up. The whole introvert versus outrovert and whatnot. But going back to the doom scrolling on these dating apps, exactly what you said. If I'm swiping and I'm on my 57th person and I swipe right and we match and we talk, do I stay talking to this person or do I go, well, what if there's somebody else like, this person has some great qualities, but they're not a cat person or they're not, I know for me, something that used to be kind of important for me was that they were Hispanic. That's what I was looking for because I'm also Hispanic. So I was like, it would be really nice to find somebody that understands that culture, right? And that has those things and understands the family get-togethers and the things that we do. But, obviously, so do you keep scrolling or do you keep that one option or do you talk to 3 or 4 people, but then that's exhausting. So and then the second that they do something like you said that kind of makes you uncomfortable or pisses you off or whatever, back to scrolling because
Yeah.
there's always another one. You never run out.
Well, let's be real. It's all those things that you said are accurate and totally true. I think the one thing that a lot of people tend to forget is that it's a dopamine hit.
Yes.
You get like it, let's not pretend that it's not, it doesn't feel good. Let's not pretend that it doesn't feel good that someone attractive finds us attractive.
The match,
And
right?
it's really cool. It's a
Hmm.
really cool feeling when somebody says, "Hey, I'm attractive. I think you're attractive." Like that's a good feeling where somebody's like, "Hey, I find you really appealing and I want to reach out to you."
Hmm.
So even if like you don't realize it, it's a good feeling. We all like that feeling.
Sure,
Like
of
I'm
course.
not immune to that, you know? Is it superficial? Sure. Does it necessarily mean that it's going to be compatible? No.
Hmm.
But does it give me a momentary blip? Yes. It gives me a little good feeling in my head.
Hmm.
And they know that. The app makers know that. All of these people know that. They know what they're doing.
Right.
And and so and there was like all this controversy about how there's fake profiles and like for
Yeah.
a lot of like the undesirable men, they would have fake profiles like them, and it was a whole thing. And now with
Whoa.
AI they're having conversations. Anyways, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But my point is that it feels good
Yeah.
when somebody gives you that attention and that level of approval. I am not actively looking for that, but I'm also not going to pretend like it doesn't feel good.
Right.
Because of course it does.
Well,
Wow,
yeah.
this attractive woman thinks that I'm attractive enough to,
Right. It's like somebody
get
buying you a
swiped
drink at
right
the
on.
bar. It's like, oh, wow, that
Oh,
feels
really?
nice.
Right, I got it.
Yeah.
Like, let's not pretend that that's not a thing.
Right.
Like it's 100% a thing and an aspect to dating now, which is another thing that actually is detrimental to finding a true partner, if you're looking for a real partner, one to settle down with, that's your intent. You're people who are dating with intent, like it's tough to break away from that
Mm-hmm.
because it's a cycle that you get trapped in. And even me, who is aware of what they're doing, is still susceptible to it. Like I am, yeah, it's nice
Mm-hmm.
when you get this approval from these people. It's a good feeling.
Yeah.
So when you are in that cycle of being on the apps, um, you're fighting a lot of different things. It's not just the guy holding up a fish in his picture, or the guy who puts down the wrong political affiliation, and it's not even that. It's like you're also fighting the options,
Right.
and you're also fighting the good feeling that
Right.
comes along with getting the approval. Because let's say you find somebody, you delete the apps. Oh, I'm done. Then there's a little bit of a hangover you have
Yeah.
of where you don't get that approval. Like currently, right now, I'm not on the apps,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm not on them. And I remember after I kind of like deleted everything, I was like, there was a little ritual I had in the morning where I would get up and I
Yeah.
would I would get on the apps and I'd be like, oh, this person liked me today. Oh,
Right.
this person. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
and it felt good.
Right.
And then when I stopped that, like there was a couple of days where I was like, I kind of miss being on the apps just for those little momentary blips of
Right.
like, I don't
Yeah.
know,
No, I
the
get it.
high of it.
Yeah. It's because like you said, it's somebody liked you and it's like a little piece of
Mhm.
validation. And I said this in one of my last episodes where if people sit here and say, "Well, I don't need validation. I don't like validation." You're lying because we get validation every single day in some sort of form, whether it's on
Right.
social media, whether it's on like from our friends, whether it's from the dating apps, whether it's from whatever. You're getting validation in some sort. You're not posting a photo of that flower so that your friend from California can see that you grew a cute flower. No, you're doing it because you want people to see that your life is cute and whimsical and
Right.
whatever. And it's otherwise you would have just texted it to her, right? Like you
Right. Well,
that
some people need it. I
sure.
don't think everyone needs it, but let's
But they
be
like it.
real. But
Right.
everybody likes it,
Right.
you
I
know?
think if you're on social media at all, there's something to that. Unless you're doing
Right.
it strictly to promote something and you're like I'm on it, for that, fine, I'll give you that. But, if you're posting something, if you're posting a photo of your dinner, which I've done that before. If you're posting a photo of you going out and having a few drinks, again, I've done that before. You're doing it because you want to show people that you're doing something fun and cool and you're a fun and cool person. So otherwise you wouldn't be doing it. You would just be taking the photo for yourself and putting your phone away.
Mm.
So and that's okay. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I don't think that there's anything weird about that. I think it's weirder when people are like, "Oh, I hate that. I don't need validation. I don't like validation. I don't want it." No, there's a part of you that wants it though.
Yeah. Well,
And that's
let's just not
okay.
pretend it feels good,
Yeah, and that's totally
and
fine. Yeah, we grew up with that. So how could you not want validation when that's what we essentially have grown to know? So I think that's perfectly fine. And, to go back to the doom scrolling of everything, we had compared it when you and I were talking about, doing this episode and everything. We had talked about how it's like Netflix, where you sit there and you scroll Netflix for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I'm just looking for a quick show to watch or a quick documentary to watch, and now I'm not going to watch anything because all I've been doing is watching 30-second trailers for the last 3
yeah.
hours. Because what if I pick this one and it sucks, and then I wasted
Yep.
my whole night on it? And instead, I'm
Hmm.
going to waste my whole night scrolling through. And
Yep.
that's kind of the problem with it is that what if the next one is better? What if
Yep.
that one is funnier? What if that one's cooler?
Right. Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It is the decision paralysis
Hmm.
of
Analysis
dating.
paralysis is what we used to call it.
Yeah. And that's what it
Hmm.
is what if the next one's the best one?
What if that's
I
the
mean,
one?
this one's
Yeah.
this one's good. This is an A minus, but what if I could find an A plus?
Right.
And then you find an A plus, and then what if I could find an A plus plus?
Yeah.
You know,
No one's
and
ever a 10. That's what I've heard before. Is like, no, she's not a 10 because what if the next one's hotter? Wait,
and
wait.
and and well, but that's my point
Right.
is that even if let's say like going on your scale, you meet somebody and they're a 6.
Hmm.
All right. And I hate to rate people like that. I'm just using it for
Yeah.
argument's sake right now. But that 6 makes you feel loved like no one's ever made you feel loved.
Hmm.
They make you feel warm. They make you feel good about being you. They don't want to change you. They don't want to alter you. They want to grow a life together. They want to get better with you. Like if you meet somebody like that, will you be willing
Hmm.
to deal with the fact that they're, I don't know, shorter,
Right.
or they have a little weight on them,
Yeah. Maybe
or
they don't work out. Maybe they
maybe they
work out
don't
too
work out.
much. Like,
Right.
there's all sides of
Like
it.
maybe they're really good with children and
Hmm.
they treat your mom like, a queen,
Right.
and they made their special lasagna for you and they
Right.
brought
Yeah.
it over. But you know what? Like he's broke.
Right.
Like and that's the thing, is that everybody thinks that there's not going to be something that they have to compromise on,
Yeah.
whether they're willing to admit that or not.
Hmm.
Every single relationship in this entire world, somebody has had to compromise on something, on
Right.
some level. They had to. If you want to make a relationship work,
Right.
you're going to do certain things that you're not necessarily stoked on, but it's what's important for the health of the relationship, and because you're supposed to love that person.
Right.
It's not just being selfish all the time. It's about wanting to make the other person happy. It's about thinking of ways to make them smile,
Right.
as small as it can be, even if it's tiny and little, even if it's like, oh, hey, I remembered your favorite candy and I snuck it in your purse when you were leaving. You know what I'm saying? Like a $2 candy bar at a Speedway gas station can literally put a smile on somebody's face.
Hmm.
You coming home and saying, hey, I remember your Starbucks order. I just grabbed it on the way
Yeah.
home. Hey, I knew you wanted this. Will potentially move the scales in your favor if somebody
Hmm.
was like preparing to potentially walk out on you.
Right.
And I'm going to go off on a rant here a little bit.
Please do.
And, but this is the thing that so many men forget. And it's such a simple, easy thing for them to do, and they refuse to do it. The big things people know right off the bat. Are you tall? Are you short? Are you thin? Are you thick? Are you broke? You know what I'm saying? Are
Hmm.
you balding? Are like all of the things that people, the big things like, do you like waking up early? Do you like working out? Do you have goals? Do you have ambitions? They know that right off the bat. You
Right.
can kind of basically figure that out on a first fucking date, right?
Right.
So if you're past that, okay, you got all the big stuff handled. This person has agreed to all of your big things, right? They've agreed to your 1986 Corolla. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Your weird mole on your back. They've
Hmm.
agreed to this already. Okay. So all the hard stuff theoretically, the hard stuff is over here. Now you have to do the daily stuff. You don't have to, but you should want to.
Hmm.
And that's the difference is, and I'm going to bring this back to a story. Uh, of the person I was dating in the 90s, pre-internet, and I was a dumb young dude. And I remember I came home from work and she was already at my apartment. She would spend the night a couple nights a week, and I was just complaining about my day, blah 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 blah. We're sitting there, and she goes, "Do you love me?" And I go, "Yeah." She's like, "But like, are you in love with me?" I go, "Yeah." She goes, "Do you want me to feel loved?" I go, "Yeah." She goes, "You never ask me about my day." And I
Oh.
go, "What do you mean?" Because I was young and dumb.
Right.
I was like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "When you don't ask me about my day," she literally sat me down like a child. She sat me down and sat right across from me. And she goes, "When you don't ask me about my day, it makes me feel like you don't care about me. And you don't want me to feel that, do you?" And I go, "No." She goes, "Do you want me to?" She goes, "When you make me feel that way, it makes me feel like I'm not loved." And she put it out in bold,
Yeah.
basic. And I was like, well, because I was young and dumb,
Right.
I was like 20 maybe,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you know how dumb and arrogant men
Yeah.
are at that age. And so I was like, what? She goes, "All you have to do is just ask me about my day.
Right.
It makes me feel like you care." She
Right.
goes, "And do you care?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, then just ask me about my day. I'm like, fine.
Yeah. Now I have to ask you about your day.
And so then I was like, how was your day? And then the next day I'd be like, how was your day? And then a week after that, I'd be like, oh, how was your day? And then a month after that, I was like, hey, how was your day?
Yeah.
And now you can ask any of my girlfriends, any of my exes, any of my staff, any of my friends.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first things that I will ask them is
Yeah.
how their day is. Not because somebody sat me down 30 fucking years ago,
Yeah.
but because I want them to know that I give a shit,
Yeah.
that I care. And so I will ask people about their workday. I will ask them about their day because those little things that men can do to make somebody feel fucking loved and cared and appreciated. Because the one thing all of us in a relationship want is to feel loved and appreciated
Yeah.
every single day. And how do you do that? And so many men make the mistake of getting comfortable in a relationship, thinking that they don't have to do anything. Well, I pay the light bill. Okay. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you make the person that you say that you love,
Right.
that lives in your ecosystem, why would you not want to water that?
Right.
Why would you not want to do the easiest fucking thing in the world? And that's the thing. They think that it's the grand gestures. And what I've learned after dating as much as I have is that it's not the grand gestures. Those are nice, but that's not the thing. It is the daily thing. It's,
Right.
hey, I made the bed for you. Hey, I started the car for you. Hey, I filled up the car with gas for you.
It took
Hey,
out
I
the
did
trash for you.
Hey,
Yeah.
I did your dishes.
Yeah.
Hey, I made food. Hey, I picked up food on the way home.
Right.
Don't worry about it. I got it. It's little shit like that. It's holding somebody
Mm-hmm.
in a hug before you leave a few extra seconds.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, for
It's
sure.
it's tiny little things like, hey, I'm gonna put my hand behind your neck and give you a kiss before I leave and look at you and say, hey, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And then walking out. Little free shit like that that takes seconds.
Right.
You have to do is just take a few fucking
Give a
seconds of
shit.
free labor.
Yeah.
Of free labor. It's so easy. How
That.
hard is that? It's hey, guess what? I was just up in the kitchen. I made you tea.
Yeah.
Here you go.
I brought you some water.
What the fuck?
Like, yeah.
It boggles my mind. And the overwhelming majority of my friends are women, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just happen to have a lot of friends that are women. I work with all women. So I hear all of these stories. And I've always had a lot of female friends, right? And I just fucking paid attention. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, huh, well, why does that make you feel like that? And I'm like, because I have a boy brain. All right. I could be old as shit. I still got a boy brain,
Right.
but this boy brain is still curious. And I
Mm-hmm.
want to know, why does that make you feel that way? And they'll tell me. And I'm like, I never thought about it like that
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a dumb boy. I'm fighting this dumb boy brain. But I'm like, oh, it's real easy. And so that's why when I talk to other dumb boys, I'm just like, hey, all you gotta do is these simple little tiny things.
Yeah.
Mean it.
Right.
Because don't you? That's the fucking person that you share a life with.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you've been with them for a month or a year or 10 years, like you care about them, right?
Right.
You care. So go buy a fucking Twix
Right.
and be like, hey, got you a Twix.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I
Like
thought of you.
throw
Yeah.
a $2.79 investment
Right.
will make somebody look at you differently.
Right.
It will literally make them see you in a positive light.
Right. Actually, you know what?